The power of food. It's not just nourishment for the body, but a balm for the mind as well. Welcome to Guide to Reads, where we're diving into the fascinating world of how what we eat can transform our mental health. Today, we'll be exploring This Is Your Brain on Food by the remarkable Dr. Naidoo, a Harvard-trained psychiatrist and professional chef. Prepare to have your eyes opened as we uncover the gut-brain connection and discover how the right foods can help combat everything from depression to anxiety to ADHD. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I just feel blah sometimes, and I chalked it up to the usual suspects, like stress or lack of sleep. Well, my friend, the real culprit could be lurking right there on your plate. For centuries, we've understood that food fuels the body, but only recently have we truly grasped how deeply it shapes the mind. The gut, often dismissed as a simple digestive system, is actually a powerhouse of chemical production. It directly influences our emotions, our focus, and even those pesky mental health conditions like depression and anxiety. The connection between what we eat and how we feel isn't just a wellness trend. It's a scientific reality. So it's time to take a fresh look at our plates, not just for our physical health, but for our mental clarity and well-being too. In this summary, we'll dive into the impact of food on 4 specific mental health conditions: depression, anxiety, ADHD, and insomnia. But first, we need to understand the foundation of it all: the close, intricate relationship between the gut and the brain. Let's get started, shall we? 1. The gut-brain connection. The wise words of Hippocrates, "Bad digestion is the root of all evil." It seems this ancient Greek physician truly understood the profound connection between the gut and the brain, even if modern psychiatry has been a bit slow on the uptake. You see, the brain and the gut are physically linked, connected by the mighty vagus nerve, a veritable communication superhighway between the two. And it's a two-way street, my friends. The brain sends chemical messages down to the gut, and the gut responds in kind. But the gut-brain connection doesn't end there. Oh no, there's more. These days, we're learning all about the crucial role of the gut microbiome, the diverse community of bacteria that call our bellies home. These little critters have a hand in producing all sorts of essential brain chemicals, like dopamine and serotonin, which are key players in regulating our mood. So, if something's amiss in our gut, it's going to have a ripple effect on our mental health. And that's where our diet comes into the picture, because what we put into our bodies has a profound impact on the health and diversity of our gut microbiome. Now, I know what you're thinking. With over 40 million Americans dealing with mental health issues and anxiety and depression on the rise, this gut-brain connection sounds like a pretty big deal. Well, my friend, the science is clear. Our diets can absolutely influence our mental well-being. It's a critical piece of the puzzle. In the sections to come, we'll dive deeper into specific food-related recommendations for conditions like depression, anxiety, ADHD, and insomnia. Because while our diet isn't the be-all and end-all, it's certainly an important factor worth exploring. After all, Hippocrates was onto something way back when. The gut truly is the foundation of our overall health, including our mental state. 2. Depression. Poor Ted. It seems the stresses of life had left him feeling down and depressed. And like so many of us, when that low mood hit, he found himself turning to all the wrong foods for comfort: sugary treats, salty snacks, and a glass, or 3, of wine. The very things that promised to lift his spirits only ended up making him feel worse. You see, Ted's primary doctor had recommended the antidepressant Prozac, but when he consulted the brilliant Dr. Naidoo, a psychiatrist and nutrition expert, she had a different idea. She suspected that Ted's diet was actually contributing to his depression. And you know what? The research backs her up. It turns out that the gut microbiome, that bustling community of bacteria in our bellies, plays a huge role in our brain chemistry. And for people dealing with major depressive disorder, their gut bacteria is actually quite different from those who aren't depressed. So if Ted's gut was out of whack, it no doubt had a direct impact on his mood. But Dr. Naidoo wasn't about to leave Ted in the dumps. She had a plan, a dietary overhaul to get his gut and his mental health back on track. First, she told him to ditch the sugar, artificial sweeteners, and high glycemic carbs like white bread and potatoes. Those kinds of foods were only going to drag his mood down further. Instead, she encouraged Ted to load up on mood-boosting omega-3s from fatty fish like salmon and tuna. And don't forget the folate and vitamin B12 in things like leafy greens, citrus fruits, and legumes, crucial nutrients for mental well-being. Plus, she advised Ted to embrace prebiotics and probiotics, which help maintain a healthy gut. With Dr. Naidoo's guidance, Ted traded in his unhealthy comfort foods for things like walnuts, hummus, fresh fruits, and veggies. And you know what? It worked wonders. Not only did he start losing weight, but his mood lifted dramatically. No more depression, just bright energy and a sense of positivity. The moral of the story? When it comes to our mental health, the foods we put into our bodies really do matter. With the right nutritional strategy, we can nourish our gut, and in turn, our brain. It's a powerful connection that's just waiting to be harnessed. 3. Anxiety. The age-old battle with anxiety, a struggle so many of us know all too well. It's estimated that a full third of the population in the good old US of A will face an anxiety disorder at some point in their lives, and the traditional treatments, like therapy and meds, only work for about half of those affected. Not great odds, is it? But you know what they say. When life gives you anxiety, look to your gut. Because the science shows there's a strong connection between our bellies and our mental well-being. Just think about those butterflies in your stomach we all get when the nerves start to kick in. Turns out there's some real substance behind that gut-wrenching feeling. Research has even found a solid correlation between anxiety and digestive disorders like irritable bowel syndrome. So if your tummy's in knots, it's no wonder your mind is racing a mile a minute too. Now, when it comes to diet, there are definitely some culprits we need to watch out for. That Western diet, the one loaded with high-fat, high-carb foods, red meat, and sugary drinks? Yeah, that's a recipe for anxiety disaster. And don't even get me started on excess caffeine and alcohol. Those might feel soothing in the moment, but they'll leave you feeling jittery and on edge the next day. But fear not, my anxious friends. There are also plenty of foods that can actually help calm those frazzled nerves. Load up on high-fiber goodies like beans, brown rice, carrots, and broccoli. Omega-3 rich fish and seafood are also anxiety busters. And don't forget the gut-healthy fermented foods, yogurt, kimchi, kombucha, and the like. Oh, and make sure you're getting your fair share of vitamins D and magnesium. Those essential nutrients can make a big difference in keeping your worries at bay. So if you're one of the millions dealing with anxiety, take a close look at your plate. Make some simple swaps, and you just might find that those butterflies in your stomach start to settle down. After all, the path to a calmer mind might just start with a healthier gut. 4. ADHD, the little brain gremlins that just can't seem to sit still, no matter how hard we try. But you know what? The key to taming those hyperactive impulses and distractible tendencies might just lie in the depths of our gut. It might seem a bit surprising, but the connection between our gut bacteria and ADHD is actually quite fascinating. You see, the chemical imbalances in the brain that cause ADHD are directly influenced by the little microbes living in our bellies. These gut bugs are responsible for synthesizing all sorts of important brain chemicals like dopamine, and studies have shown distinct differences in the gut microbiomes of those with ADHD versus those without. So, if your mind is constantly racing and your focus is slipping, the solution might be as simple as taking a closer look at your diet. Certain foods, like gluten and dairy, have been linked to worsening ADHD symptoms. The culprit in dairy is a protein called casein, but you can find better options in sheep's or goat's milk. And of course, we'll want to steer clear of sugar and additives too. But it's not all bad news. There are plenty of gut-friendly, ADHD-busting foods out there. That trusty Mediterranean eating pattern we mentioned before? Turns out it can work wonders for improving focus and concentration. And foods rich in polyphenols, like berries, eggplant, and onions, can give the brain a real boost. Oh, and let's not forget the potential benefits of a little caffeine in moderation. That cup of coffee or green tea can help sharpen the mind, as long as we don't overdo it. Though, of course, medication like Ritalin and Adderall can also be helpful for some folks with ADHD. but if your symptoms are on the milder side, it might be worth trying the dietary approach first. The moral of the story? When it comes to taming those wild ADHD tendencies, our gut health is a crucial piece of the puzzle. With the right foods fueling our bellies, we just might be able to quiet those distracting brain gremlins and find the focus we've been craving. 5. Insomnia and fatigue. The age-old struggle with sleep, that elusive, rejuvenating rest we all crave, yet so many of us seem to lose out on. In fact, about 1 in 3 of us are tossing and turning each night, desperately trying to catch those precious Z's. And would you believe it, the culprit might just be lurking in our gut. You see, the bacteria that reside in our bellies have their own natural sleep cycles, and when our body's internal clock gets thrown off, whether it's from a few late nights or jet lag, it can wreak havoc on our gut microbiome. And that's not just a recipe for insomnia, but for other issues like weight gain too. Shift workers, with their irregular schedules, know this all too well. So if you're struggling with insomnia or just general fatigue, it might be time to take a closer look at what's going on in your stomach. The first order of business? Cutting back on those sleep-disrupting culprits, caffeine and alcohol. Limit yourself to just a few small cups of tea or coffee a day, and try abstaining from the booze altogether for a month. You just might be amazed at how much better you sleep. But it's not all about what you should avoid. There are also some foods that can actually help promote quality rest. Load up on those omega-3 rich fatty fish like salmon and tuna, and don't forget about the sleep-regulating power of melatonin, which you can find in eggs, nuts, seeds, and more. And when it comes to fighting fatigue, an anti-inflammatory diet filled with colorful veggies and omega-3s is the way to go. Just make sure you're also getting enough of those essential vitamins and minerals, B, C, D, E, magnesium, and zinc, to keep your energy levels high. The moral of the story? For better sleep and more vibrant energy, the key might just lie in what we're putting on our plates. By nourishing our gut with a varied, healthy diet, we just might be able to finally conquer those pesky sleep struggles and fatigue once and for all. Sweet dreams, my friends. 6. Brain foods for everyone. The golden rule of brain-boosting nutrition. Even if you don't have a specific mental health condition, making a few simple tweaks to your diet can work wonders for your overall well-being. And it all starts with one vital piece of advice. Never ever go grocery shopping when you're hungry. You see, when our bellies are rumbling, we tend to fill our carts with all the non-nutritious comfort foods that promise a quick fix. But that's a surefire way to sabotage our mental health. Instead, we need to make a conscious effort to stock up on the good stuff, what I like to call our brain foods. Let's break that down, shall we? B is for berries and beans, 2 powerhouse ingredients that are bursting with brain-nourishing goodness. R is for that rainbow of colors we should be aiming for in our fruits and veggies. A is for antioxidants, which help protect our precious gray matter. I stands for including those lean plant-based proteins. N is for nuts, of course, while F covers the fiber-rich, fermented wonders like yogurt and kimchi. O? That's for the healthy oils, like olive oil, and the omega-3s found in fatty fish. But we're not done yet. D is for the dairy delights, particularly probiotic-packed yogurt and kefir. And finally, S is for the spices that can add a little extra zing to our brain-boosting dishes. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's a lot to remember. But the key is to start small. Make sure you're loading up on those leafy greens like arugula, endive, and bok choy. And don't be afraid to experiment with new ingredients and recipes. As eating healthily becomes a true pleasure, you'll start to feel the benefits in your mind and body. The moral of the story? When it comes to nourishing our brains, a little dietary diligence can go a long way. By stocking our pantries and fridges with those essential brain foods, we can give our mental health a fighting chance, no matter what challenges we might be facing. So let's get to it, shall we? Final summary. Now, this sounds like a book that truly speaks to the heart and the mind. This is Your Brain on Food, by the remarkable Dr. Naidoo, seems to be a game changer when it comes to bridging the worlds of nutrition and psychiatry. What a revelation! You see, this groundbreaking work doesn't just offer a generic, one-size-fits-all approach. No, It provides a science-backed toolkit to treat our mental health in the most holistic way possible, through the power of the foods we choose to nourish ourselves with. And the best part? This book empowers us to potentially reduce our reliance on medication, when appropriate, by making strategic dietary changes. After all, why rely solely on pills when we can harness the incredible healing properties of the very foods we put into our bodies every day? But it doesn't stop there. This is your brain on food. Also equips us with the knowledge to actually prevent those pesky mental health symptoms in the first place. By building a gut-friendly anti-inflammatory diet, we can fortify our minds against the ravages of conditions like depression, anxiety, ADHD, and insomnia. And let's not forget the bonus: over 40 drool-worthy recipes to get us started. I'm talking mood-boosting smoothies and anxiety-soothing curry. Talk about a mouth-watering way to nourish our brains. So, my fellow mental health warriors, are you ready to eat your way to better well-being? The key is to start small. Add those omega-3s for depression, that magnesium for anxiety. And for a full game plan, be sure to grab a copy of This Is Your Brain on Food and subscribe to Guide to Reads for even more delicious insights. Remember, our brains are always eating, so let's make sure we're feeding them the very best. After all, a healthy, well-nourished mind is the gateway to true happiness and fulfillment. Bon appetit, my friends. P.S. For an even deeper dive into the world of nutritional psychiatry, pair This Is Your Brain on Food with The Happiness Diet. A match made in mental health heaven.